A very warm welcome to this World Game Changers podcast, where your host, Paul D. Lowe, embraces many crucial conversations that compassionately contribute towards creating a better life and world. Paul's intention's very simple: to help get people's inspirational insights and motivational messages out into the world, so others may benefit.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to this World Game Changers podcast episode. Today, I've got a returning guest, David Roberts from the UK. David, a very warm welcome to you again, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
And on the foist, even the first, where did foist come from? Anyway, the first episode, listeners, David and I spoke about what makes a great leader. And we're going to continue that theme now, but from a slightly different perspective. We're going to introduce a word called wealth, and how that may influence leaders' thinking, what part it might play. I mean, David, simple 6-letter word, wealth, but boy, has it got many, many different permutations and connotations.
Absolutely. I mean, and everyone kind of, well, the moment you hear the word wealth, you kind of go towards money as the initial thing that you think about, but actually if you look at the origins of the word, it's sort of more steeped in well-being and health. So you know, I suppose I look at the whole concept of wealth, especially linked to leadership, as about outcomes. So the kind of outcomes that you're looking to create as a leader could be financial outcomes. They could be service-related outcomes. I'm very passionate about service, and also whatever the enterprise or the activity that you're engaged in. If it's about making a difference, it's about how you can create the change that's required. You know, and so that's another outcome. So wealth really. And what that actually means kind of depends on the circumstances and the motivations for the individual or the organization.
So diverse, isn't it? I love how you frame that, David. I can't remember it verbatim, but there's something on Wikipedia around the definition of wealth, and it's a really holistic, good description, because it brings in things like social status, happiness, love. I mean, love's not we haven't touched upon that simple 4-letter word love, have we, in the context of leadership? I know in the previous episode, we spoke about, you know, heart-centered leadership, you know, leading from the front, from the heart in that respect. But this definition of happiness, you know, and good health and just joy, and this whole kind of, as I say, holisticness. But there is that conditioning that we have when you mention a word. And as we know, words have energy, that this, you know, not for all of us, but there's that automatic assumption, oh, he or she's talking about money.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I mean, from my experience, actually, just today, I run a underfloor heating company in the UK called New Heat, and we're a very values-driven organisation, and we've been running broadcasts for the business once a fortnight, where, you know, some of us are working remotely, some of us are in the office, some of us work out in the field, out in the community, and so we're running broadcasts online for a couple of years now, and we'll continue to do so. And there is a genuine interest in the service that we're looking to deliver, a genuine interest in how we're doing and how different parts of the business are doing to deliver that service. There's also a genuine interest in people. So, you know, the people in the business have asked for more personal stories, you know, about what's happening in individuals' lives, you know, and celebrating new starters, celebrating and congratulating people who leave as well, who are going on to do something somewhere else. And also those personal events that happen in their lives, like, you know, like weddings and babies and you know, just, well, anything really. We'll celebrate anything if somebody wants to share it. But also, people are interested in how we're doing financially. So you know, money is not a dirty word. You know, it's money is a kind of a measure of value. And I think if you look on money as a kind of a currency, and you look on relationships as a kind of a currency, and if you look on the service that you offer and delivering on your promises as a kind of a currency, then they're all valid measures of wealth. Because the other way of looking at wealth is it's about value, and not value as in values, but value as in, the difference that you make to other people and their lives. And with underfloor heating, we are looking to make people feel lovely and warm and cozy in their homes, but we're looking to do it in such a way which makes the whole experience easy for them, and a kind of a memorable experience, so and easy to do as well for people that are installing the kit and all that kind of thing. So that whole kind of thing about wealth, it depends on how you look at it. And I think taking the full breadth of the definition into account and into your thought process, actually, there's lots of opportunity there. If you just look at it from a financial point of view, then yeah, you can come across as being very single-minded and only in it for the money. And that's where the unhelpful connotations can come across.
What came to me there, David, as you were speaking, was there's a bridge, between this very diverse expansion of, say, I don't know, you're talking to somebody at the bus stop, a stranger, you're in a queue, in a bank queue, supermarket queue, whatever, and you just strike up a conversation with somebody, as opposed to, like you said, you've got a commercial business and your bottom line, you're constantly assessing whether you're, delivering a value-driven service. And on the surface of it, they're very diverse scenarios. I don't actually think they are. And please allow me to explain why, listeners, in as much that there is a bridge, and there's a term which some might say belongs more in the corporate world and certainly within the financial echelons, called return on investment. And I love the way, David, that you've introduced that word quite a few times around values. And surely, whether we're talking to, the stranger in the bus queue, we're exchanging energy, thoughts, jokes, love, whatever that may be. We may never even see that person again. There's a return on investment for time there, isn't it? Okay, David, it's been fascinating to talk to you while we've been waiting for the bus. Really, really pleased that you told me you've got 2 cats and 10 dogs and 15 kids or whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. You've invested time and emotion in that dance, that conversation.
Yeah.
The return on that for me as the listener or the participant is immeasurable.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Conversely, with the more quantitative, so that's qualitative. So the more quantitative, well, are the books, is this a good job? Have we underpriced it? Are we giving good value? Are we as a company and the customer getting a good return? So you've got 2 very contrasting situations that are bridged by a simple 3-letter phrase of return on investment.
Yeah.
And I think when, as leaders, because aren't we all leaders, David? I mean, for me, I have a view, and a strong opinion, that the greatest leaders in this world are mothers.
Okay.
Now, in some quarters that lands very well. In other quarters, it's like, hang on, and I'll leave it to you listeners to kind of judge why it lands favorably or not. Any thoughts around that on the surface of it, David? Quite contentious statement.
Well, I totally agree though with you, because mothers or the role of motherhood is definitely a key leadership role, and again, you in the family unit, you get scenarios where there's a mother and a father and they're both present. You get other scenarios where there's one or the other. You get some scenarios where there's 2 mums. You get some scenarios where there's 2 dads. So that all of those multiple scenarios exist. But that role of motherhood is definitely a leadership role, in the same way that there's a kind of like a fatherhood role as well. So I personally believe that leadership is actually a role of service. So, and one thing that resonates with me is that if you want to be somebody, you need to serve somebody. So and again, that starts with yourself, as we talked about in the last episode. But when it comes to your service of others, that's how your role as a leader manifests. And there's no greater servant than a mother of a newborn child, as an example. By the same token, I'm a father. And I know that I've taken on that father role, and also at times I've stepped in as a mother as well. I've got two teenage daughters, and there are some things that are definitely not not discussed with me, but are discussed with their mum, who does a brilliant job at doing that. But yeah, absolutely right. I think you can look at those perhaps traditional family roles as being great exemplars for how to be a leader. And one only has to think about the effect that one's parents have on one's life. I mean, if you've, and it doesn't matter really what kind of, how good, in inverted commas, a mum or a dad, you think you had, they had an effect on you, and that came with the values. That also then came with the environment that they created, and it's interesting how you see people who've been almost unprotected as a child, growing up with certain characteristics that they then need to learn about themselves and then resolve and work with. But then by the same token, you get people who, by comparison, may have been overprotected, who then have another set of unique circumstances that they've grown up in to then overcome or work with or resolve, or whatever it might be. So it's definitely a very, very influential role, and again plays to that sort of definition, really, which is leadership is about people.
Absolutely. As we start to draw towards a close, David, I want to ask you one big question to finish off with, but just pause and hold that thought for a moment. Before doing so, invite you in again to share your contact details. How can people reach out, find out more about you, connect with you?
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. So I'm most often found on LinkedIn, so it's David Roberts on LinkedIn. I'm on all the social media channels, though. I've got a Facebook page as well, so I can be found on social media. Like I said last time around, I think I'll be able to give you my email address, so we can put that in the show notes. So if people want to contact me, they can dig into the show notes and find my contact details there.
Superb. And as David said, listeners, his bio and his overview there and all his details will be in the show notes. So the big question, David, I often close out by using this approach. I want you to imagine that we've just met in a hotel reception. We've struck up a great conversation, very much the way we have over these 2 episodes. And we're just about to go into the lift up to the next floor. So it takes the elevator 30 seconds to get to the next level. And then at the next level, I'll metaphorically go left, you'll go right, and we'll probably never even see each other again. It was ships passing in the night, call it what you will. But as we get in the elevator, I kind of say to you, David, it's been fascinating to hear about your thoughts and your views on leadership. And bearing in mind, our paths may never cross again. By the time this lift gets to the next floor in 30 seconds, what can I take away? How can I be a more effective leader? Give me something to work on. Okay.
So the first thing I would suggest that you do is to work out what it is that you want. Because if you can be really clear on what it is that you want for your life, and what difference it is you want to make for other people, then that will give you a really firm starting point, and from then you can then make decisions about what you do. So starting off, so what do you want, and then it's about then creating that perfect day. So if you can work out what you want, so family, friends, work, love, relationships, exercise, environment, all of those sorts of things. What do you want? Really spend some time thinking about that. Invest that little bit of time in yourself, and then say, okay, so what would my perfect day look like? And then spend the next few months incrementally working towards making that perfect day happen, as many days as you possibly can.
I've got to say, David, the lift just went up and down a few times.
I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was maybe 31 seconds, just as we were saying goodbye, as you were going left and I was going right.
Who's counting? Okay. David, thank you so much for your part you've played in these 2 episodes.
An absolute pleasure. And I love what you're doing with World Game Changers. Keep it going. It's brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, there's 1 or 2 effective leaders in there, I might add. But maybe soon, listeners, we might do a 500th episode conversation around effective leadership, because that's imminent. That's very, very imminent. Episode 500 coming very, very, very soon. So on that positive, warm, leading note, I'm going to sign off the way I always do by saying, remember, the world's changing. How will you respond?
Thanks very much for listening to this World Game Changers podcast episode. Hopefully you found it interesting and helpful. Drop a line to paul@worldgamechangers.org with any thoughts or questions you may have, and he'll be more than happy to respond. Remember, the world is changing. How will you respond?